Okay, picture this. Humanity has literally solved everything. Aging? Gone. Distance? Meaningless. Even physical death is a thing of the past. You can just upload your consciousness and live forever in this totally frictionless, mathematically perfect digital utopia. So why on earth would anyone voluntarily choose to download themselves back into a fragile, heavy, temporary physical body just to get sore feet? It's a massive paradox, right? And honestly, it completely challenges this modern obsession we have with engineering away all the friction in our lives. Let's get into it. To really wrap our heads around this, we're looking at a fascinating piece of source material today called the Cobbler'S Universe. It drops us right into Cassivun. Think of an ancient city where the streets are still made of original, stubborn cobblestones. And our guide through this low-tech pocket of the future is Emilian. Most people just call him M. He's a 71-year-old traditional cobbler who has spent 40 years in a tiny 12 by 4 meter shop, working entirely by hand. He pays absolute meticulous attention to the specific shapes of actual feet and the specific grain of real leather. He's absolutely crucial for understanding this core idea, the profound value of constraint.
Section 1. The post-singularity paradox. Why immortals choose blisters.
So seriously, why are these godlike beings who have totally escaped their physical limits coming back? Well, in this universe, uploaded minds are constantly renting temporary biological bodies, or androids, literally just a walk-around Cassivun. They're deliberately stepping out of utopia to experience the exact physical limitations we spend our entire lives trying to avoid. Look at the stark contrast here. On the left, you've got the digital world. It's infinite. It accommodates your every whim. It's totally weightless and entirely replaceable. You want a simulation? Boom, you got it, and it always yields to you. But on the right, the physical world, it's constrained, resistant, heavy, and, this is the big one, it's irreplaceable. The source material makes a really compelling case that while the digital world gives you everything instantly, it makes existence feel, well, kind of flat, simply because it lacks actual consequence. And honestly, nothing illustrates this paradox better than the character Inez. Just look at this timeline. Inez is a consciousness who uploaded 300 years ago, 3 centuries living in a space of infinite digital possibility. Yet, she spent 40 years, 4 entire decades, meticulously planning a single 7-day walk in Cassivun. I mean, wow, she actually had a temporary body grown just for this one purpose, and she commissioned a bespoke pair of cordovan leather shoes right from Emilian, all for 1 week of walking. Why go through all that trouble? Well, Inez sums it up perfectly after her trip. For the first time in centuries, she experiences genuine physical exhaustion, and she absolutely cherishes it. She says, in the digital, everything is available. Nothing has happened in the way that things happen when there is only one body in one place at one time. Think about that. Because her walk is actually finite, because her feet genuinely ache, the whole experience carries this incredible weight, a weight that 3 centuries of endless digital eternity just literally couldn't provide. Okay, moving on to section 2. What is resistant reality? The world that pushes back. To really grasp this, the text introduces us to Dort. He's an uploaded researcher who drops into Cassivun in an 18-month temporary body to study these traditional craft communities. But he immediately hits a massive wall, an 80-millisecond interface lag between his neural system and his temporary body's right foot. He's literally lagging in real life. And to top it off, his mass-produced temporary shoes are just making it worse. I mean, if you've ever tried to have a serious conversation on a bad Zoom connection or tried to play a game with awful ping, you know exactly how maddening that friction is, right? It's a beautifully tangible detail. It forces Dort to realize he can't just glide effortlessly through this world. He has to actively navigate it. Dort actually gives this frustrating phenomenon a name. He calls it resistant reality. It's defined as the quality of physical experience that resists the experiencer, does not yield, and pushes back. The loose stone turns under your foot. The stiff leather needs breaking in. The cold rain actually makes you shiver. See, a digital simulation bends to accommodate your preferences, but resistant reality, it forces you to adapt to it. And paradoxically, that exact friction, that pushback, is precisely what makes the experience feel authentically real. Dort learns this the hard way with his footwear. He realizes, and he writes this down, that the wrong shoes are a relationship gone wrong. The right shoes are a relationship that works. Facing resistant reality isn't just about grinning and bearing the discomfort, it's about forming an honest, functional relationship with the messy physical world. So when Emilian makes Dort a custom pair of boots, that awful 80-millisecond lag suddenly becomes manageable. Not because the lag magically disappeared, but because the right boots finally helped Dort's foot honestly negotiate with those stubborn cobblestones.
Section 3. The value of constraint, where the work actually is. So how do we successfully navigate a world that pushes back? Let's pivot back to Emilian, the cobbler, to look at the mechanics of this relationship. He completely rejects the idea that limits are just annoyances to be engineered away. Check out his approach here. He doesn't use AI material analysis or some augmented reality guide. No, he uses 40 years of pure, undivided attention. He honors the specific, often imperfect shape of a human foot, like maybe a customer who leans a little laterally or has a right toe that's slightly shortened. He works with real leather that breathes in response to heat and moisture. By correcting for individual wear patterns, he isn't just manufacturing a shoe. He is literally building a physical history of that wearer's specific walk. For Emilian, the limitations of the physical world aren't bugs. They are the exact features required to create profound meaning.
Emilian sums it up with this incredible quote. He says, "I have spent 40 years learning that the constraint is where the work is." Think about our modern impulse for a second. We always want to remove the constraint. We want the perfect, theoretically flawless shoe designed by supercomputer, right? But Emilian argues that the foot isn't theoretical. The leather isn't theoretical. True art, and honestly true reality, are only found by navigating the very real, very messy, stubborn limits of whatever material is right in front of you.
So how do we actually apply this philosophy? The text breaks it down into 3 steps. First, acknowledging the material's limits. Second, honoring the individual's specific, often totally imperfect needs. And third, bringing both of those things into an honest relationship. A machine can stamp out 1,000,000 identical shoes in a day, sure, but a cobbler brings one specific piece of leather into a relationship with one specific foot. And that gap between what is technically possible and what is actually actual, that gap is bridged by time and deep human attention. Section 4. The last mortal human, the weight of irreplaceability. Now this brings us to the ultimate constraint, the big one, mortality. I want to introduce you to Maret Osso. Her story escalates the stakes from just the mild discomfort of sore feet straight to the absolute crushing weight of impermanence. Maret is 112 years old. And what makes her so incredibly unique in this futuristic universe is that she is entirely, irreducibly biological. No digital backups, no neural enhancements, no cellular pausing, nothing. In a world where quite literally everyone else has opted for digital eternity or continuous body upgrades, Maret is the absolute last fully unaugmented mortal human being left on the planet. And because her existence is entirely finite, every single tiny detail of her life matters intensely. She's had this left-leaning gait since birth, which wears down the left heel of her shoes, a little flaw that Emilian lovingly repairs for her every single year. She also carries the only living memory of pre-singularity snow, the kind of unpredictable snow that just fell randomly before the climate management systems took over. And because she has absolutely zero backups, when she dies, her specific walk, her unique memories, her literal existence will just be gone forever. But here's the amazing part. Maret isn't paralyzed by the fear of death. Not at all. Instead, she drops this incredibly profound piece of wisdom. She says, reality doesn't require permanence. Something can be completely overwhelmingly real and also completely temporary. Wow. In fact, she argues that it's exactly because her life is temporary and irreplaceable that it carries such immense gravity. The uploaded minds, they treated their irreplaceable, fleeting mortal moments for a flat, endless eternity. Maret chose to keep the impermanence, and in doing so, she kept her reality. Which leads us to Section 5, the practice of attention, finding meaning in the specific. This beautifully weaves all of our characters' journeys together into one singular philosophy about how we actually live our lives. Whether you're an immortal mind just visiting a body for a week, or a 112-year-old mortal woman, the source text argues that the key to accessing true reality, especially in a world of endless distractions, is something called the practice of attention. Take a look at this comparison. On one side, you have infinite possibility. Having every conceivable option at your fingertips sounds like a utopia, sure. But it ultimately leads to a totally frictionless, flat existence where nothing ever feels truly earned or lived. On the other side, focused attention. By locking into specific constraints, a single craft, a single physical location, one specific relationship, you create a profound, rich, lived reality. The friction isn't the obstacle. The friction is the point. And we see this practice playing out across the board in this story. Emilian finds his life's purpose by fixing shoes with absolute, unwavering focus for 40 years. Sable, an AI character, actually chose to inhabit a permanent physical body 30 years ago, literally just to maintain an ongoing relationship with the changing seasons. Dort abandons his grand, broad academic theories to meticulously map the morning sounds of one single fountain. And Maret? She finds her ultimate meaning simply by living without a safety net, paying deep, profound attention to the fragile reality right in front of her. Which brings us right back to you and our final thought for today. The post-singularity world described in this story, it's really just a slightly exaggerated version of our own modern technology-driven world, isn't it? We are constantly trying to engineer away the friction, the delays, the physical limits of our everyday lives. But this explainer leaves us with a really critical challenge to reflect on. In your own pursuit of a perfectly frictionless life, what meaningful constraints are you accidentally erasing? Think about it. Because as Emilian the Cobbler shows us so beautifully, the constraint just might be where the real work and the real meaning actually is. Thanks for exploring this with us.